Well, I'd like to welcome John Pearlstone. He is the treasurer of the Third Mutual Board, and therefore he always talks about financial reports at the meeting, gives everybody an update about what's going on, and not only with the finances, but often the resales as well. So welcome. Nice to have you here today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes,
Thanks.
and so we're going to talk obviously about that, about how the finances are going with Third.
Yeah, well, it's always a good topic. I spend most of my time on it for board-related matters. In general, feel really, really good about the way things worked out for 2019 in our budget, and feel even better about the way we're starting 2020. So many tumultuous events are going on with an election year and other things going on in the world that is just really comforting that we've got a board that is very focused on fiscal responsibility. There were some changes at the GRF board most people are aware of, and we feel like everybody's in good unison. We're having good communications and just feel like we're off to a really, really good start. We're having a great interaction with our staff and trying to get in line with all the projects we want to focus on. So generally a good report across the board.
Now, one of the things you talk about is the investments every month, and you kind of give a brief overview on that. And of course, what you and the other boards invest in are pretty safe, aren't they?
Yeah, I would define it as really safe. Over the last 18 months, and definitely want to give a lot of credit to a great friend and a great person, the late Jack Conley. He was a treasurer before me, and he drove the mutuals to look at the investments and try to make sure we were getting the best value for our investment dollar, but also keeping things safe. And just in the last few months, we made the transition from a diversified portfolio of, is pretty low yielding but safe government bonds into government-oriented mutual funds, all investment grade or government-backed, and it raised our yield, it lowered our management expenses, and while all this volatility is going on in the stock market, we continue to have the sleep at night portfolio that's actually performing extremely well. I mean, every day is a different day, but very safe, highly backed in terms of guarantees and strength of the organizations behind the bonds, and it just all worked out as well as it possibly could have, not only for short term, but we think for the long term as well.
Right, and then obviously when your investments are in government bonds and all, there's less of a tax hit as well.
Right. I mean, every mutual's got a little different tax setup, but at the bottom line is all that was evaluated and looked into, and the transition, it's being managed at Fidelity right now, so we've got that level of strength behind it as well. I meant to mention that, but the reality is all those areas got covered, and it's all been working out exactly as we had proposed so far, which is always a good thing at this place with a big project to make sure it's running as planned. And so we're watching it closely, but so far so great.
What are some of the key things you see coming up for this year, obviously from a financial standpoint?
Well, I mean, our focus has been kind of the sleep at night approach on all projects instead of let's get a progressive and aggressive and start doing all kinds of new and projects that we may not be quite ready to manage and handle. We're kind of consolidating what's going on, and we're very aware of what's going on in the bigger picture at GRF, most notably the Performing Arts Center. That project is getting a lot of attention, and rightfully so. We're hoping to see that get handled and approved and started if all goes well. And that means that we have to watch our projects at Third Mutual and make sure that we're not overextending while that all gets settled. So we've still got major projects going on for dry rot and wasteland remediation and just improving our structures as much as we possibly can, because there was a lot of deferred maintenance from years ago. It's definitely being handled well. We're getting great feedback. We offer our resident services from Third Mutual, the chargeable services for doing repairs. That project's going extremely well. So trying to make everything we've got go better instead of, let's expand it into 20 new things. Let's get good at what we're already doing. And that seems to be working, and we're really upbeat and excited about it.
Now, everything goes through financial, one way or another. And, one of the big items is landscape. Not only just the maintaining of landscape and looking at how things are going to be done, maybe change, getting rid of some of the turf and all that, but also the water bill, right? And that's not going down anytime soon, is it?
No, no. We're doing the best we can. We have a water committee that tries to get good communication out there, but it's a statewide and arguably a nationwide problem. So we're just trying to stay on top of it and aware of it and encourage our community to do whatever they can to reduce their water usage. We're reasonable. We still want to have a good quality of life. And, I think we're having some traction in getting that word out there. But bottom line is, just in the landscape side of things, so happy with the progress that we've made there. Not a lot of it. I'm on the landscape committee also, so I'm involved with all those discussions. And the last 12 months have seen great foundational changes in our landscape approach. The community is going to start seeing it. Some of the people attending the meetings are starting to comment on it. But there's a lot of catch-up work to be done there in terms of tree trimming and irrigation and water management, and it's all being addressed. We'll see in 12 months if we're where we think we can be, but definitely know that we're in the right direction there as long as the execution works.
Right. Now, of course, as you said, you have a lot of things that just the maintenance things to take care of in general. Roof repair, dry rot, the sewage system, and all those different things. But then looking ahead, you're contending with, or will contend with, eventually more and more people are coming in with plug-in electric cars and such. So that is something that I know that everyone is active in looking at because, pun intended, it's coming down the road very quickly.
Right. Well, you had to force me to be controversial in my visit today, I suppose. It's a big topic. We're all really aware of it. We're staying abreast of what state government's talking about, federal government regulations, and just the needs of our community. But there's also a lot of technological improvements going on as well.
Right.
So to me, it's a walk slowly into this process because you invest a ton of money in stations and opportunities for people to be able to plug in everywhere they turn around. All of a sudden, self-charging batteries come into vogue, and it's like, well, now we've spent millions that could have been applied somewhere else. So it's being addressed. We've got consultants working on it. We've got experts within the community looking at it. Believe me, it's going to be thought about carefully, and we welcome residents to share their input and ideas and their concerns. So we'll be out front with what's going on, but we're going to make sure that we invest the money wisely at all times.
Yeah,
That's what I'm here to do.
You bring up a very good point when it comes to that because we see how rapidly technology changes, and it comes to the point, when you're talking about the plugins and all that. Well, they're already beginning to talk about, which has been around in one form for quite a while, conductive charging. So therefore, which basically means if you have a certain type of phone, you don't need to plug it in, you put it on something and it charges that way. And they're already developing the way that vehicles will be able to do this with some kind of a mat or whatever. Yes, those will have to be plugged in a sense, but in a totally different sense that plugging in your car isn't. It's a good point you bring in. When it comes up with tech, you're always trying to catch up.
Right. Well, to give some upside of how we're approaching things currently, we had the street lighting project that I know our other board members have mentioned before. That is being handled in a really proactive manner from here forward. We've chosen the fixtures. They're being installed. So, we're trying to make sure that we do the things we can do well and get them done, and that's going to improve the lighting throughout Third Mutual. So the ones we know, the LED lighting that we can jump into effectively, cost efficiently, it's going to provide big savings for our utility usage. So that's what we're trying to make sure. Let's do what we can do well, and the stuff that we want to look at and maybe aren't quite as ready to do, let's just start really studying and understanding the right path for the future.
Yeah, and believe it or not, you're starting to take a look at the 2021 budget over, I think, by the end of March, right? You start looking at it?
Yeah, we already had a first meeting. They seem to like the budget all year long here. For me, the key is make it a meaningful budget. If you're going to put a budget together, let's make sure that we're understanding if it's working, if it's not working, why, how do we make adjustments to make it better? And we did a lot of that. We spent a ton of time last year getting the 2020 budget ready and saw some process issues that could really be efficient. So, we're working on the big areas, the big dollar items to say, let's dig deeper, make sure we understand what we need as a community and get those budget dollars right. And then the big change we're hoping for in 2020 into 2021 is getting more real-time information on how it's going.
Right.
Some of our budget process is equal in the way it shows up on our financials, but it's not equal in the way the work's done. We're trying to get better information to be able to tell residents and for our own benefit of whoa, you know, we're going to have a huge hit in April and May, so let's make sure that that goes on track.
Right.
Versus, oh, it all looks equal, but it's not really happening equally, if that makes sense.
Right, and of course that comes back to reserves and contingency funds.
Correct. It all comes back to, you know, what we're funding in our assessment, how we can keep that as managed and as reasonable as possible, and better budgeting is obviously key to keeping that under control.
Right. All right. Well, very good. Anything else you'd like to add today?
Yeah, I'm going to take a second and wish happy birthday to my son.
All right.
And my good friend Scott, who is also in the community, and they both share a birthday, so I thought it would be fun to at least let him hear me on TV wishing him the best.
All right. Great. Thank you for coming on, sir.
My pleasure.
Good to see you again.
All right.
And we'll be right back.